In the middle of this week's Torah portion, Vayishlach, we find the story of Dinah, a tale of rape, deception, revenge, and murder. Shechem, the son of Hamor, the head of the city of Shechem, rapes Jacob's daughter Dinah, and then wants to marry her. Jacob says nothing when he learns of the rape, but his sons, who are angry that their sister has been defiled, promise Hamor that if he and all of the men of the city become circumcised, intermarriage between the families of Jacob and the town can occur. On the third day, after all of the males of the town had been circumcised, two of Dinah's brothers, Shimon and Levi, massacre the men of Shechem, capture the women and children, and take all of their possessions. In response to these actions, Jacob rebukes his sons for having brought him trouble by raising the specter of attack by two neighboring clans and the destruction of his entire family. In other words, Jacob asks, what will the neighbors think? So what does this story tell us about Jacob? The behavior of Jacob, an Ish Tam, a simple man and a sympathetic patriarch who toiled for 14 years to marry Rachel, is troubling. We now find him to be a passive and unemotional observer who, on having learned of his daughter's rape, says nothing and takes no action. Silence replaces the expressions of anger, talk of revenge, sympathy for his daughter, and sorrow for the tragedy that has befallen a child, which we would expect to hear from a father in an identical situation. He prefers to wait for his sons to come home before reacting, and even then, the Torah does not record a single word from Jacob, while the brothers negotiate with Hamor. It is Jacob's sons who devise the plan to take revenge on Hamor in his town, which they accomplish through an act of deception. Only after hearing of the violence and the killing in Shechem does Jacob react, and then his silence is broken. But rather than rebuke his sons for having employed and debased the ritual of circumcision to achieve an abhorrent result, he expresses his deep concern for his reputation and how the other clans will react. It is all about him. Rabbi Shorsh has suggested that among other themes, the story serves to explain why later on, in Jacob's deathbed charge to his sons, he disassociates himself from Shimon and Levi and repudiates their past conduct. Other biblical scholars have noted that the story shares the motif of deception, which appears in both the events surrounding Jacob receiving Isaac's blessing and in the brothers' negotiations with Hamor. Nevertheless, I have not found any acceptable moral explanations to justify Jacob's reactions or lack of reaction, because there are none that are really plausible. Perhaps, consistent with the Torah's treatment of Abraham and Isaac in detailing their personal shortcomings, the author wanted us to see the personal failings of this revered patriarch as well. Shabbat Shalom.